We have May's second half announcement for Xbox Game Pass games. A job posting for somebody working on an unannounced project for Obsidian has been discovered, and the game bakers, the developers behind Fury, explain why the game's DLC is not coming to Xbox. All right, to start things off here, let's talk about the second half of May's Xbox Game Pass announcement, the games that you're going to be able to check out between now and the end of May. So the first game on the list, these next couple ones here are available today, available right now with an Xbox Game Pass. The first one here is Her Story. It's an ID at Xbox game, and it is available on Xbox Game Pass for PC. It is just a complete narrative-driven style of game coming from the creators of Silent Hill Shattered Dimensions, where you go through, you listen to the stories, and you try to figure out the mystery. So if you're into that type of stuff, you want just an interesting, good murder mystery style, Her Story could be the game for you. Next up is Jurassic World Evolution 2, available on cloud, console, and PC, and again available today. And this is just the sequel to Jurassic World Evolution, which has a pretty big fan base, the simulation management style of game in the Jurassic World. So that's going to be available if you want to check that out. After that, you have Little Witch in the Woods, which is a day one Game Pass game. Again, showing off an ID at Xbox, and it's going to be available on console and PC. And this is a RPG. It has like an overhead style in terms of the camera with the pixelated graphics here, where you're going around exploring, doing quests, helping people out, all that type of stuff. So this one is available right now today. Then you have Skate from EA Play, which is available on cloud. Still a great game. I mean, the whole Skate series are some of the best skateboarding games ever made. Great simulation. Skate 3 is a game that I had played just a couple of months ago or so, and it's just still such a great game. And we're still waiting on Skate 4. We know that they are working on that. I'm really excited to see what comes next in the Skate series. Then the last one available right now is Umurangi Generation Special Edition. Again, another ID at Xbox game, available on cloud, console, and PC. A day one game. And this one's a very odd game. I took a look at it. I had no idea what it was about. I hadn't heard about it before. But it is a first-person photography sandbox game set in the retro future city of Taranga Atiora. Not sure if I said that right. Probably didn't say it right. During an impending crisis. And if we go here and we look at some of the gameplay, you can see the graphic style. It has kind of like that retro look, the very jaggedy, pixelated, kind of like that N64 era look to it. But you're just going around in the sandbox world and taking pictures. And moving over here to the games that are going to be coming in the next week or so, you have Farming Simulator 22. I mean, what else to say about that? It's a simulation of farming, available on cloud, console, and PC on May 19th. Vampire Survivors, again, also available on May 19th. And this one here is just an action game. I mean, you're going around, very simple graphics, and you're just trying to survive. You can see the chaos on the screen with the amount of enemies out there. Kind of like just a bullet hell style, shoot 'em up action style of game. I guess that's the best way to describe this. So if this is something you're into, this is going to be available on May 19th on PC. So it's only an Xbox Game Pass PC game. Then we have Floppy Nights, available on cloud, console, and PC. Another ID at Xbox game. Day one, May 24th. And this one is just a card game strategy tactics style of RPG, where you're going to be going around. It says here, join Phoebe and Carlton, a brilliant young inventor, and a robot armed bestie as they square off in a turn-based battle. So if you're into turn-based battles, you like the little addition of the card game strategy involved with that, this may be one for you to check out. Another day one game after that on May 24th as well, Hard Space Shipbreaker. This is only a PC game, and from what I understand about this game, it's kind of like a sandbox game where you're just going around, you're taking apart ships, you're scavenging the items within those ships in order to survive and to make money off of it. And if you're into that type of stuff, this one actually looks pretty cool after watching some of the gameplay of it. Looks like it could be, I know there's a lot of people out there that love a lot of those sandbox style of games. This may just be another one to add to the repertoire, the scavenging, the building, and just going around and trying to survive. And finally, we get down here to the big one, Sniper Elite 5 Day 1, Xbox Game Pass on May 26th. If you like the Sniper Elite series, this is definitely one you are going to want to check out. Now, when it comes to Sniper Elite 5, we also have some information on how this game is going to be running. So it says here, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X versions of Sniper Elite 5 will run at 60 frames per second and will support resolutions of up to 4K. And the Xbox Series S version will support 60 FPS at resolutions of up to 1440p. So no matter which Xbox you're playing it on, you should still get that 60 FPS and a good resolution. Cricket 22 available May 27th on PC. I believe this is already available on Game Pass for console, so they're just adding it to the PC version. And then finally, Pac-Man Museum Plus, another day one game, cloud console and PC on May 27th, features 14 Pac-Man games. If you love Pac-Man, this is going to be the one for you. So overall, I would say this release pretty mediocre in terms of the second half of May. Nothing that has blown me away. Nothing that has really caught my personal attention that I will really want to play. The only one I will probably check out from this list is going to be Sniper Elite 5 at some point in the future. And hey, this is the end of May. We're getting into June. June 12th is going to be the big day. So May has been a little bit of a down month, I would say, for Xbox and Xbox Game Pass. April was okay as well, but June is where Xbox really has to deliver with all the announcements, and I'm thinking there's going to be some interesting Game Pass stuff that they announced at the June 12th event. Now, the Game Pass launch and the Game Pass releases weren't the only thing to come out yesterday. There's also this, if you're interested in the Arma series. Arma Reforger is available right now as a timed Xbox exclusive, a part of the Xbox Game Preview program, where you're going to be able to go out and check this game. This is just a big first-person shooter, war style of first-person shooter. And what they say here with this release is, powered by the new Infusion engine, Arma Reforger lets you fight for supremacy over 51 square kilometers of incredible island terrain in an authentic Cold War setting, or create unique scenarios in real time with the Game Master Curation mode. Return to Everon, the war-driven microstate from the hit game that started it all, Arma Cold War Assault. Join players online and experience realistic Cold War combat as a US or Soviet army soldier, capture strategic positions, dominate the battlefield, and work with others to secure objectives in a dynamic, unforgiving environment. With a selection of period authentic weapons and vehicles recreated in a meticulous detail, Arma Reforger's multiplayer game modes returns you to war. So if you're into this type of stuff, you're into war games, Arma Reforger may be for you. This is pretty much getting people set for the release of the upcoming Arma 4, and they're going to be using the new Infusion engine for Arma 4. So if you want to check out what that engine's all about, how the game looks, does it look good? Does it look bad? Are things more realistic? This is where you're going to be able to see that. Okay, jumping over here to an interesting job post, an interesting LinkedIn post, I should say. And it has to do with Obsidian. And we know Obsidian is working on a bunch of titles. We know they're working on the next Outer Worlds, Avowed. There is Pentiment. Could they be working on a Fallout New Vegas 2, anything along those lines? A lot of people are speculating what else Obsidian is going to be working on. But there's this job posting here that was found, and this is for Gurjeet Suri's LinkedIn profile, who works at Obsidian as the outsource manager, and it is working on an unannounced title. Now, we don't know what this means, but we do know that Obsidian has another game in the works that nobody knows about, which is either Pentiment or it's something other than Pentiment. Pentiment is a game that we've already heard the rumors about, that it is just a smaller team of people that are going to be working on it, and it isn't going to be a big AAA game. So it's either that, or it could be working on something aside from everything else that's already being worked on at Obsidian. A lot of people want to see Fallout New Vegas 2 because that's one of the most beloved Fallout games, and Xbox literally has the match made in heaven now with Bethesda and Obsidian in the same place to be able to do this. So maybe we will see something about these unannounced titles from Obsidian, or the unannounced title on June 12th. I think it's a game or a studio that has a lot of content that people are waiting to see. It's going to be the most interesting to me what they show off at June 12th. Are they going to show off any of the next Outer Worlds, Outer Worlds 2? Are they going to show off anything from Avowed? And are they finally going to officially announced the Pentiment game? So we got some more information on the game Fury, that, as we know, the developers behind the game Fury, which are the Game Bakers, are not bringing over DLC to Xbox. And this was something that a lot of people were wondering why this wasn't happening. And pretty much Game Bakers came out and said that, hey, Xbox just wasn't a good enough platform when they first released Fury. There wasn't enough of an audience there, so we're not going to put the time and effort in order to bring over the DLC. And that caused a big controversy, people debating this, people saying that games can only do well if they're on Game Pass or specifically indie games. However, Fury released back in 2016 before there was even Game Pass available. So all of these arguments were going around, and now we have some more clarification from the developers as to why they aren't bringing the DLC onto Xbox. They say here, Game Pass is such a fantastic platform for players, so there are possibly more Xbox players than ever interested in indie games. Unfortunately, without Game Pass, it is also very hard for many indie games to be visible on Xbox. And within this interview where they were talking about the reasoning, they also mentioned that their second game, Haven, which is on all platforms, has been available on Xbox Game Pass and has been very successful on the service because the Game Pass has completely increased the reach of Haven across the platform. And if you take Game Pass out of the equation, Haven is the most successful on the Nintendo Switch. So it just shows how important Xbox Game Pass is for a lot of these indie developers in order to reach as many people as possible. I mean, we've seen these statistics in the past about how more people play games they've never played before, experience genres they've never experienced before, and overall just play more games with Xbox Game Pass. So that is a big reasoning for them as to why Haven has done well and why Fury, released back in 2016 before Game Pass was available, it hasn't done well on Xbox. And I would say overall, indie games in general, whether on PlayStation, whether they're on Xbox, or even if they're on PC, it is hard to get your indie game out in front of everybody with the amount of competition out there. It just takes a ton of marketing. Probably harder on console because you're controlled by the storefronts from Microsoft and from PlayStation. But I would say there isn't that big of a difference whether you're comparing it to PlayStation or Xbox for an indie game in order to get your game at the top of the store so people see it. And this is directly correlated with Fury as well, because Fury actually released on PlayStation Plus, and the breakdown of the numbers show that PS Plus had a similar effect to Xbox Game Pass with the success of that game. So Fury did well on PlayStation, they had more players there, but it's because it was also available on PlayStation Plus, and it wasn't just because people on PlayStation wanted to check it out more. I made a video talking about this, I think it was last week or so, and people in my comments had said that they had bought Fury on Xbox, and you go on social media and people were upset that they weren't going to get that DLC because they went ahead and purchased the game on Xbox when it first came out, which will de-incentivize them to purchase anything else from these developers going forward if the risk is there that they're not going to be putting out future content for that platform. Specifically, it says here, if you take Plus or PlayStation Plus out of the equation, PlayStation sales of Fury only accounted for 7% total, compared to 5% on Xbox, which is a very small difference, meaning the game essentially did pretty much the same across both consoles if you take out the subscription model from it, meaning that the game makers really just decided, in my opinion, not to put the extra effort in to put the DLC on Xbox. They didn't want to go through the extra development costs and whatever else would be that they would have to do in order to get it onto the platform. They continue on here to say, we talked to the team at Xbox to see if there was a way to get some support, but Fury didn't align with the Game Pass strategy focused on new titles. This is why we took the decision not to bring DLC to Xbox at launch. The chances the investment was not going to recoup were high, which is an odd thing because we've seen Xbox, yes, they want those day one Game Pass games, indie or AAA, but we've seen them just in the announcement for the second half of May. We've seen them put older games onto Game Pass. So I wonder what went wrong there for them not to negotiate some sort of deal to get Fury onto Game Pass, get Fury's DLC as well, so that people who purchase the game get that DLC, or people who have never experienced it before may discover the game. So I guess at the end of the day, the premise that Xbox gamers don't support indie games or don't support developers is just completely wrong, and they kind of proved it themselves here, where they even said the only reason why it did well on PlayStation when it first launched was because it was on the PlayStation Plus service, and the sales, the actual physical sales or the digital sales between PlayStation and Xbox when the game released was only a 2% difference. But that's it for me, guys. Let me know what you think about the second half May Game Pass releases. What do you think about the unannounced project from Obsidian? Is it something we've already heard about, or is it something new? And what are your thoughts on the game makers and Fury not putting their DLC onto Xbox? If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you're new here, you liked what you saw, consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your support, and I'll catch you in the next video.
Bye.